For full disclosure, we received a copy of this game for free thanks to our friends over at game.press for review purposes. Hello, this is Tim at Wembembo on Everything, back with a small installment of DLC for a demo of the game No, I Am Not a Human. No, I'm Not a Human is an upcoming first-person survival horror game developed by Trioscaz and published by Critical Reflex. This game revolves around the sun's increasing temperature and guests who need shelter from the burning sun. Sounds pretty simple on paper, but the long and short of it is that there is a large either solar explosion or the sun is in the process of exploding. And this has caused the temperature of the Earth to increase rapidly. People are encouraged, as per government warnings, to stay in their homes, and there are people whose homes cannot be stayed in. Therefore, you have people approaching you and your home to see if they can stay in it. Now, the problem is, there are these things called visitors, which are people that have come out the ground. They look human, they seem human, but they do not have the best of intentions for people. They are there to kill humans. The objective of the game becomes, with the limited amount of information that you're being drip-fed, you need to work out if anyone that you've taken in to shelter from the sun is a visitor, and is therefore going to endanger you and the people you have chosen to shelter. Now, the way this works, there are two sets of cycles. There is a night cycle, where in the night you'll have people knocking at your door, and you'll be able to ask them a series of questions before deciding whether or not to let them in. If you choose to let them in, you will then be able to meet them in the day. When they're in the day, you can conduct a number of tests. Now, these tests are going to be something like, one of the signs that someone is maybe a visitor is that their teeth are perfectly white, or that they have dirt under the fingernails, or that their eyes are bloodshot, for example. And the objective becomes managing your resources, because you've only got a certain amount of energy per day, to conduct these tests, work out if anyone's a visitor, and kill them if they are. That's assuming you've let them into the house. Now, what this game does really, really, really well for me is its incredible art direction. It's very unsettling, I think is probably the best way to put this. It's at night, it's got a real old school night vision camera look to it, and as you progress through the night, or through the nights rather, I should say, you can look out the windows to see your house's surroundings. Now, these start off fairly mundane on night one. First one being that your neighbour's house just has the lights on. You meet your neighbour on night one, and the neighbour's daughter. The second window will have like some teenagers playing outside on it or something like that. And the third window will have some people drunk on the street, sat, chatting, sleeping, whatever. But as the night progresses, we see your neighbour's house burn down. We see the teenagers have been killed. We see the drunkards have gone inside for being too scared to go out and socialise. We see dead soldiers from people attempting to fight the visitors. All the while, you're expected to take in strangers and work out whether or not they are a threat to you. The other side of this art direction that's really interesting to me in particular is the very distorted features of the people. What's really cool about the way they've designed the characters in this game is they'll give them really bizarre proportions. So for example, the first stranger I met on my night was a guy who was incredibly tall. His limbs were super long legs, super long arms, and you actually couldn't see his face. So I took a risk, and after questioning him, took him in. And the more you take in, the more time you've got to ask these people questions, the more you've got to work out about them. But then we'll meet someone who looks like they are basically a skeleton. They are completely skin and bone, they're burnt out, they're coughing, their eyes are bloodshot, there's dirt under the fingernails, but they might not be a visitor. They said that they were a firefighter and had some papers to prove it, but how can we prove those papers are legitimate? And it's these sorts of moral questions that we need to ask in this game. I only outlined 2 NPCs that you'll meet during your time in No, I'm Not a Human, but there are possibly hundreds of them. And I'm not going to say they're randomly generated because I know for a fact that they are not. However, the order in which you receive them might be randomly generated, which changes how you might perceive some of the information that's being drip-fed to you. I mentioned the firefighter there. He mentioned that he was out in the woods fighting fires when he was told to go inside. But the next morning, when listening to the news, we received reports of dirt under the fingernails being one of the signs of a visitor. Now, typically, your day-to-day person isn't going to get much dirt under their fingernails if they're like an office worker, for example, but this guy's a firefighter, so he could legitimately just have dirt in his fingernails from being out in the forest. But his eyes are also bloodshot. That could be the smoke. Or he could be a visitor and you kill him, or he could be a human and you've killed him because you misinterpreted his circumstances for symptoms. I think this game balances a really, really, really interesting point of moral dilemma versus survivability in a tone that's not too dissimilar to This War of Mine, for example. It's not all sunshine and roses though with No, I'm Not a Human. I ran into some massive performance issues on the Steam Deck. I played this on Steam Deck first to see if it would work, and for a while I thought it did, and then when I realized it wasn't going to work, I moved to PC, where worked just fine, everything works as expected. The reason it didn't work on Steam Deck is because this game will often require the use of touchscreens or mouse clicks. No problem, the Steam Deck has trackpads, the Steam Deck has a touchscreen. What I wasn't expecting was just for the game to just stop accepting any inputs. So, for example, to end the night, you need to go to sleep. You tap your bed, or click your bed rather, as it were, on PC, works just fine. On the Steam Deck, you can enter your bedroom but not tap the bed. However, you can still tap to take a drink from the fridge earlier on, so we know it registers inputs, but it doesn't register them consistently. This game's obviously still very much in development. Right now we only have a demo for it, and I am personally very excited to see where this goes. This is my kind of analog horror. I don't want to say too much without spoiling the game because I do think this is absolutely worth your time. The demo is only 45 minutes long, and so I think you could probably put that into a decent small 45-minute session, get a really good idea of what this game's about and whether it'll be for you or not. I know it's one for me. This has been Tim, at Wembembo on everything, and I'll see you next time.